Hello bakers and welcome to Upside Down. Today we are continuing our series for creating interior design renders inside Unreal Engine 5. Today's topic is going to be creating the glass material for our bathroom. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. Last time we created a base material and we did a material instance for our floor tiles. Now we are going to create another base material or a master material and we're going to use it for glass. But I'll show you how to make a realistic version of the glass with some additional tweaks that we can do so that we can control exactly how that looks, because we are going to use that glass not only for the windows but as well for different elements and assets that are inside the scene. And to make it look realistic, it's best to have a little bit more options. First thing, gonna right click somewhere in our empty space in the content browser and we are going to go for a material, and then glass. First thing where we're gonna start with our material is change the setup here so that Unreal knows exactly what we want to do. So first is that we are not going to use the opaque blending mode because we want it to be translucent. So we are going to put that one activated. But by doing so, have a notice that we don't have any more the access for metallic, specular and roughness. And seeing glass in real life, we definitely need at least the roughness to have from those parameters. So I'm going to scroll down and we are going to look for lighting mode. By default is in volumetric non-directional, which doesn't have those options enabled. But if we change it to surface translucency volume, then we are going to have all the options that we had initially. Now we're going to start building the material, and first thing we're going to do is take two parameters for color and we're going to lerp them. So I'm going to go into the parameter section, and then from here we are looking for a vector parameter, and first one I'm going to call inner_color. And the second one, I'm going to copy paste it and call it outer color. Now we're gonna grab a lerp node. This is by holding L on the keyboard and just pressing somewhere on the empty space in the editor. I'm going to connect those two. And this one goes to base color. Now for the lerp to work properly, we need to make some sort of a logic, some sort of an alpha that how exactly those two colors are going to be lerped. And the way that we are going to use it, because we have the inner and the outer color, is going to be by using a Fresnel. I'm going to right click and then type Fresnel. So this is the node that we need. And we want to have some sort of a control. So I'm going to hold S and click somewhere on the empty space. This is going to create a parameter which will allow us after that in the material instance to work on the different variables that we have for our Fresnel. So this one we are going to name it exponent in, as for the node that we are going to connect it to. And I'm going to put it as a default value of 1. So this whole first section that we created is the base, and this is only for our color. And in order to have it a little bit more organized, I'm going to select everything, click C on the keyboard, which is for comment. And here I'm going to name it base color. So now we can move all of these nodes together. Now let's create some controls for our metallic, specular and roughness. I'm going to just copy the same value from over here, the same parameter, and we're just going to change it. So I'm going to name metallic. I'm gonna do it on 0 by default, and then specular. The default specular inside Unreal Engine is 0.5, so that's why I'm going to change it to 0.5 to have the default value. But if we want to move it from the default value, we will have the option to do it. And the last one is going to be our roughness. And this one we are also going to leave on 0. So I'm going just to hook those into the correct places. So there is one more note which we need to put before we start testing, and this is going to be the opacity. And I'm going to leave it here, and let's make it on 1 by default. And let's compile and save the material and make a material instance so that we can see how we are going so far and what kind of options we have. I'm going in the content browser, just right clicking, create material instance, and this one is going to be MI for material instance. And let's work on, let's just leave it Windows for now. I'm just going to create some of the base shapes inside Unreal so that we have a sphere to which we can apply the material and see how it looks. So now, having the material instance applied to the sphere, we are going to open the parameters. So we will start editing everything in real time. Let me just expand this window a little bit so we see what's going on. I'm going to tick all the options. And now let's start by changing the opacity. So let's make it 0.1. Maybe this is too much. So let's put it something like 0.3. It looks nice. Okay. And let's change a little bit the color. So I'll put it something very dramatic so that we see more the change. So let's make something like this for the inner part, and let's make more bluish for the outer part. So you can see that for now what we have in terms of logic, and as a result we can already make it from our options over here. We can control the transparency, and as well we can control the color, like the inner and the outer color, as well as our roughness, specular, and so on and so on. So this is pretty much the base functionality for it. Now we need to start expanding this, because it's not only about being translucent and having a little bit of specular on or roughness on our surface, but it's as well about how exactly it's changing the image on the other side. So how exactly the light and everything interacts with our glass and like what we are seeing. And being a sphere, of course, we need to see a little bit of a banded vision on the other side. So now let's start expanding our functionality from what we have at the moment. So first thing, let's play a little bit more with the opacity. So at the moment we have just a parameter which is controlling absolutely everything, and having this Fresnel at the end, it's best to have a little bit of options like similar to here, because when it's especially for spheres, when it's going towards the edges, it's normal that like it a little bit stacks up to itself. So it looks like in real life it looks a little bit thicker. So we need to find a way to make the same thing. And what we're gonna do is I'm going to get a lerp, and then we're going to do the same thing as for the colors. So this is going to be inner opacity, and the second one is going to be outer. Okay. And we are going to grab again a Fresnel. This time I'm just going to change a little bit the controls so that we know which Fresnel is for what. So this one I'm going to make it as color Fresnel. And this one I'm going to change into opacity. Okay, and let's put it over here. Apply, save. And the other part that we are going to do is at our refraction. So I'm just going to make a parameter for refraction, going to leave it on 1 for now, going to hook it up, apply, save. And let's have a look with our new parameters. What can we achieve? So let's open the material. This is the material instance. and enable some of our new options that we have. So we have the inner opacity, the outer opacity, and as well the Fresnel. I'm going to just play a little bit with some of those. So let's make it that the outer opacity is 0.7, can take it further, 0.5, and then the inner opacity 0.22. It's going to be fine. Okay, so now you can see that we are starting to get this effect of the whole glass being a little bit thicker around the edges and then look like it's more transparent in the middle. And of course we have our refraction, which if we start to change, you can see that we are starting to get the effect that I was mentioning earlier. So the whole image on the other side, looking it through our glass, starts to bend and starts to have a little bit of a different way of looking. So this is how exactly Windows and glass is creating this effect in real life. So this will help us a lot once we are creating some of the different decorations like glasses and other stuff like that for the interior. So now let's add on top of what we have till this point, and going with the same logic that we had before, we are going to update our refraction as well, because when we have those banded places, we would like to have a little bit more of that effect. And I'm just going to make another Fresnel for our refraction. So we are getting this opacity Fresnel and writing a refraction, putting it into our parameter. And then there's this thing that we need to invert it, because otherwise we are going to get the bendings the opposite direction, if that makes sense. So we will need to invert our Fresnel in order to get the correct values and the correct effect that we want. And the way to do it is by typing -1. So this is going to invert all the values that we have from over here. And later on, we would like to clump this. This is so that it doesn't get to a higher value of 1. And now we are going to multiply those two. So we have our refraction parameter from before, and then this one, which is going to a little bit improve our corners and everything that we have on the sides. So now coming back to our scene and to see how our result looks like, I am just going to pull it. And now you can see that we're starting to get this bending, which is around the corners that we didn't have earlier. So this is something that we can change from the parameter that we just created. And this is, for example, if we want to have a certain type of refraction, and then we can play a little bit more with those ways of how exactly the glass is interacting with the environment and how exactly it's bending everything around it. So we are going to get even more accurate result this way. So I'm just going to organize a little bit everything. So we're gonna make a comment for the opacity over here. And then here we will make for the refraction. And the last thing which I'm going to add to this is going to be a normal map. And this is in case we want to make frosted glass or glass that has some sort of a details. So I'm going to right click, go into parameters and find texture sample parameter 2D. So this one I'm going to say normal. I'll be using a normal map which I have imported from before. So this one is from one of the surfaces, but you can change it to whatever you want, like whatever pattern you want. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I might be using this one. I think it will look just a little bit better for the presentation. So I'm just going to assign it. And what I'm going to do is type flatten normal so we can control the strength of the normal map. And then I'm going to get one parameter over here and normal, flatten. By default, we're gonna leave it on 0 because we want to have the full strength. And then this I'm going to hook into our normal map. So normal. Let's just organize our things a little bit better. Apply it, save it. And there is only one more thing that we need to add, and this will be the tiling. So I'm going to copy paste this parameter from here, and normal tile. We need texture coordinates. And then I'm going to multiply this and put it into our UVs. This way we will be able to adjust the normal map and adjust the tiling of the normal map. So now let's have a look on how everything looks. We have our material, and let's open the material instance. So we have now our normal map. And here in the tiling, we can put it on, let's say 1, or we can change it to whatever parameter we would like. And you can see that we are starting to get some of those details. Of course, this is a normal map, which I'm using for clothes, so it looks a little bit odd, but you get the whole idea. So we just need to find a correct pattern for our frosted glass, and then everything will look as it should. As well, if you are making specifically for frosted glass, I will recommend you to not use completely on 0, but let's say 0.5 or something like that, because it's not perfect reflections. There is a little bit of a noise there, and this will just help more with your reflections and everything, how it looks. Thank you for joining me in today's tutorial. I hope that this was useful for you, and see you next time when we are starting to do all the lighting in the scene.